Welcome back to another poorly lit episode of Mac Music Review. Guys, guess what? The lighting is pretty good outside, actually. Like, outside it usually looks pretty good from my porch. But, unfortunately, the issue that I've run into is it's extremely cold. Dude, it is literally April. It is past spring and it's like 40 degrees outside in Georgia. Like, it's kind of unbelievable. And I just hate the cold. More than anything, I hate being cold. And I didn't want to put on a sweater and go outside. I've done that before. I didn't feel like it. Here I am. We're going to be talking about the Quinn XCII album. I might have said his name wrong. The album is called Bloom. Yeah, I got the name right. It's Quinn XCII. But anyway, Bloom is an album that I reviewed way long ago. I think it was recommended to me by Amazon, and it's one that I reviewed in writing before I reviewed it, before the YouTube channel was a thing. And I thought it was good at the time. I was like, this sounds pretty good. Listening to it now in the pop music landscape, it definitely is a standout. It's definitely in the same vein as Jon Bellion. If you've never heard of this guy, if you've never heard his music, Jon Bellion is a good reference point. It kind of sounds like that type of huge pop music, that type of production style where it's just very bright and kind of airy, and there's a lot of electronic music and synths being added into the mix, and a lot of full sounds, and it's hard to describe, but that's what this album sounds like, kinda. And it's a heck of a lot better than most pop music. The first track, Light On, has these bird sounds, these waves of sound. It's just a cinematic opening, and then you get these recurring synths that go along, and it's a really impressive opening track. It's just a really solid track overall. These Days has an earworm hook and some good lyrics too, about about this guy's brain and how it feels kind of disconnected from things, and how, just feeling a little bit lost. But, with that recurring percussion, and it's a good song, man. It's another good one. It's followed up by Bootlegging, though, the only explicit song on the album. And this creates one of the issues I have with the album, which is he has these songs that are very clearly storytelling songs, where he will straight up just hop into a narrative, either from a character's perspective he's talking about from a different time period. Like Bootlegging is about a guy and is basically his relationship with his liquor and how fun it is to be a bootlegger. And it's just slightly cringe. The lyrics are slightly cringy, even though musically it sounds pretty good. It's just a little bit cringe. Fight Song might be a metaphor, but once again, his lyrics can be a little bit on the nose. Like, just not super subtle. Like, that's not his thing, is having subtle lyrics. And so it's about, like, him fighting, and then he kind of, like, gives this, like, image of, like, there's a bunch of people lined up, and he's like, I'm just fighting them off, like, physically fighting them. And it's, it might not literally be about fighting people, but the lyrics are so specific that it gets that vibe. Not a huge fan of it. It's definitely not a bad song, and musically it's good. And then New Wave, it has some more generic EDM production, like some of the electronic music there. And overall, the song is fairly unique. But when you get to that, you'll know it when you hear it, and it's going to sound a little bit generic. This was released in 2016, and you do have some, EDM at that point. The Chainsmokers was making a big impact, and EDM was kind of finding its way into the pop mainstream, and it's kind of just sounds like a product of that, unfortunately. And then the other highly narrative song besides the Bootlegging song is Good Friend, which is basically about a guy who holds people up at gunpoint to survive. Like, that's his thing, is like, I'm a crook, but I just do it so I can eat. I steal money so I can feed myself and provide, and musically, it's actually pretty good. The lyrics could be a point of contention. Like, you could say the lyrics are a little bit cringy and on the nose as far as the narrative goes. But, hey, actually, The music sounds pretty cool, and it's also very like unique sounding, like the sound effects used and everything. So yeah, Good Friend is a good song. The opening music on Bones like scares me. I'm like, okay, this doesn't sound good. Like the first few seconds of the song, but as it progresses, it's actually a cool song. It's kind of a love song. He's talking about this girl, and it's a cool song. Like, I know I suck at describing things, but guess what? It's a good song. When I was pointing out the issues with this album, I was being super nitpicky. Musically, the whole thing sounds good. Even new wave. Like, the whole thing is so listenable. It's so accessible for me. Like, it's not hard to get into. Even when he is talking of these super specific lyrics, I'm not a big fan of the song Bootleg, and that's the only skip for me, really. Everything else, including new wave, I think it's good music. And I think Quinn XCII has a good voice, too. And, I haven't kept up with his music. I reviewed this album, I think, because it was recommended because I was listening to Jon Bellion music, reviewed all the Jon Bellion music. I'll link some of those reviews in the description, I guess. But yeah, this is good stuff. If you like Jon Bellion, if you like pop music that's a little bit different, that's a little bit better than the mainstream, like, I don't like pop music, and I can safely give this a thumbs up. I'm giving it a 3.5 star rating out of 5. I appreciate you watching the video. If you watch this, dude, this one might get 0 views, man. I don't know if anybody cares about Quinn XCII. Quinn XCII. Like, I knew he's kind of like a popular, like, it felt like at the time when I was listening to him when I initially reviewed this, he was like this cool, like, name in the underground. But since this album, and this on Apple Music is listed as his first album, he's kind of made several other albums, and I've just kind of not kept up with it, and I don't know if anybody cares. He's definitely not in the mainstream or even like highlighted in the indie scene. His music is just kind of swept over now. But yeah, I hope you like this guy's music. I hope his other albums are good. You know, I might review him sometime in the far future. But thanks for watching the video. Have a great rest of your day.